You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I hope wherever you are in the world and whatever you are doing very well. You're about to listen to a very unique conversation between myself and a member of the Australian Paranormal Society. The gent's name is Bill Tabone, and I reckon we'll get stuck into it. Here we go. Bill, I want to welcome you to the show. The blurb on the Australian Paranormal Society Facebook page states that we are a paranormal research group. We specialise in investigation hauntings, but each member has their own area of interest that they can help you with. So, mate, in your own words, tell us what the organisation is all about.
Really, there's several areas to it. The investigation part of it is to help people who are having issues, and just because we investigate a place doesn't mean it's haunted. What it means is that people are having problems that they think it's related to a haunting, or some sort of spiritual activity, whatever you want to call it. We go in there and we will run an investigation, and we will tell them, no bullshit, excuse the language, but we'll say yes it is or no it isn't. We're not one of these groups that will go in there and state that you've got a demon in your house and whatever. If you haven't got any spiritual activity, we can't find anything. We will try to find a natural explanation or something that could be causing it. So that's the first part of it. The second part is education. So we speak to people, we do workshops, we run tours at haunted locations, we take people on investigations to these locations, and show them what it is to be in the paranormal, or to experience paranormal, or paranormal field in what we do. We don't guarantee that there's going to be any sort of ghost activity, but it's an education showing them what paranormal investigators are. We're normal people. We have day jobs, we have families, we have our own issues, and we go from there. So trying to spread the word that that the paranormal is not taboo, and it's not some sort of crazy lunatics. We're all normal people, you know what I mean? And doing this to help people. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think,
that's us.
A lot of the people listening can relate to that, because a lot of my audience, and me included, we're all heavy metal fans. And, society tends to pigeonhole us. And, people who are into heavy metal and rock in general do tend to get into the paranormal as well. So that's why I thought having a chat with you would be very interesting for the audience. So I've got a good... You're right, you go.
I was going to say, I agree. My wife actually was, she had a band. She was a heavy metal singer and a bass player and all that sort of stuff. And my sons love music, right from down to the 8-year-old, and, especially the sort of, awesome. Pantera, those sort of ones.
Great.
And we're, they're really open to the music side of things too, which is awesome. So, sorry, and that's just a sidetrack, but
no, that's great.
It sort of verifies what you said, because that's where we headed. So,
yeah. Awesome, mate. And
there you go.
How do you first assess if an investigation is warranted? So, for example, do you get anybody who contacts you that you think might be taking the piss, so to speak, or are the people contacting you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're mostly genuine in their request for your help.
We a big majority of them are genuine. Probably 85 to 90% are genuine. Even if it is just a non-paranormal issue that we have to deal with. But you do get the odd one, and you do get the odd, there's attention seeker is the word. It's not a really great word. It doesn't describe it really how it is, but they enjoy having, they might be having activity there. And, for example, they might be, maybe they're, doing something they shouldn't be doing, Ouija boards or something, which Ouija boards are fine. I see them as a tool if they're used properly and you know how to use them. The problem is when people use these tools, whether it be a Ouija board or whether it be recording voices of spirits or whatever, if you're not doing things correctly, you're going to leave yourself open for an attack. And sometimes, we'll get people, they'll say, I've used a Ouija board as an example. We'll go in there and we'll help them out because, people make mistakes. We're all human, and we're not going to hold that against them. But then, we'll get a call, a month later, it's back again. Have you stopped using the Ouija board? Oh, no. I just wanted to keep using it. So you're not helping yourself. And they like that attention of bringing activity in and then having people come in and sort of try to clear it. So we do come across that. And I mean, have had people that have contacted us to try to get us out there and, been trying to take the piss. But we have a pretty big vetting process. So we have telephone interviews beforehand. We have set questions which include psychological assessments. All the guys do a psychological first aid course, which allows us and helps us to assess if there is any sort of mental issue. Not that we can diagnose that, but we can at least, say, well, this person looks like they've got this, this, and this. We might be dealing with that, and then we have to counsel them and have chats with them. We actually have counsellors who work with us as well. There's a very big vetting process before we actually go out and commit ourselves to an investigation. It's it is time off people's lives. We don't charge for those things, and these guys are doing this, off their own back.
So I think
helping people out.
You've just mentioned something there that I actually had organised as a question to ask you. So for something that was invented and popularised by, no, it's all good. It's great. It means we're on the same page. So for something, that's it. Well, for something that was invented and popularised by the stakeholder of a Pittsburgh toy and novelty shop in the 19th century, the Ouija board occupies a fascinating, if not fearsome, part of people in the West psyche. So, how much of context do you get from people who have had an experience using an Ouija board? And I can tell you my one and only experience using an Ouija board was when I was about 12 years of age, and I never did it again because it scared the living daylights out of me.
It happens. I mean, I know my wife as a child, as a young lady, I think in probably early teens, I would say she was. They had an experience with her friends using it, and they had light switching on and off and globes exploding. It's typical what you'd see in a movie, but it does happen. It's quite a big. We get quite a few people asking questions, not necessarily having problems, but asking questions. And as I said earlier, it is just a tool, man. It's like if it's used properly, there are certain things you need to do. And we date back. We're going back to the spiritualist movement. The 18th century, 19th century, where they would use different divination tools to contact or try to contact the spirit world. And they had rules and ways to shut things down. And when you finish the board, you have to close it down properly, etc. Now they took that concept and turned it into a board game. Which is, I think I've got a copy out in one of the storage boxes out in the garage, from, I think it's John Sands or one of those ones have put it out there as well. It's just one of those things. It is a game, but I mean, as with anything, for example, we use voice recorders to record what we call EVPs, or electronic voice phenomenon, which are the voices of the dead. We try to get them to answer our questions. Now, if you're using that at home and you're using it obsessively, even that can open up doorways. It doesn't have to be a Ouija board. It could be, it could be tarot cards. It could be taking photos of trying to, it could be anything. It could be taking photos of trying to capture photos of spirits in your house, or it could be whatever. It just could be constantly, trying to see things. You open up these doors, and that's when things might happen. And that's one of those things that we just try to educate people that, the Ouija board itself is not a bad thing if you learn how to use it properly. So
you mentioned the tarot in there too. So I do tarot card readings for people. I'm definitely not a psychic, but I'm intuitive. So I really do enjoy doing the tarot readings. But inevitably, the people that I do tarot card readings for are coming to me when they've gone through some sort of in their words, a disaster in their life. Typically, a relationship breakup.
Yep.
That's when people tend to be at their lowest outside of when they lose a loved one or so. So do you get a lot of approaches from people that are either have experienced going through the bereavement process or going through a relationship breakup?
Mainly bereavement, not so much relationship. For us, it's more that they think someone's passed away, and they may be having some sort of unusual things happening in the house. Is it old Auntie Jane, or is it Uncle Bob, or Mum or Dad, or whoever? And sometimes it's just a matter of the way we work is the team is really has two sections. One is the more esoteric, the mediums, those sort of things. And then we have the technical side, which is all the cameras, equipment, recorders, computers, whatever else. So, sometimes it is us just getting one of the mediums or the sensitives, as they like to be called, to give them a call and have a chat to them. And that can usually fix a lot of these problems up. Other times we need to go out there and sit down with them, and you need to explain to them about certain things, because the problem is, it's not really a problem, it's human nature, is that we fear the unknown. And, you might have the most loving father in the world, but when he passes, if he comes back to try to visit, and you're experiencing something from him, it still causes fear in a lot of cases, not all cases, because some people are more enlightened as in, to the spirit world. But it causes fear because they don't really know what's going on. And once you sort of have to sit down, if the mediums work out that it is bad, then they tend to feel a lot better. You know what I mean? It's a simple fact of, having a chat to them sometimes. Yeah. Not everything is having to run out there and, set up equipment and spend the whole, 24 hours sitting in the house or trying to catch something. You know what I mean? It's a lot of it is just counselling and chatting.
So before I get to the next question, mate, what? So you mentioned something in here too. What are the tools of the trade you use? So if I'm a musician, for example, I got my amplifier, my cabinet, my guitar. What do you guys take to a gig, so to speak?
For sure, mate. It depends on the case, really. If we were to, for example, we do some work up at Arrowdale Asylum, which was the biggest asylum in the Southern Hemisphere, and in times gone past, we used to spend weekends in there. So we'd go in on the Friday, we'd spend the whole weekend locked in there, and come out on Sunday. If that was the case, we'd take, probably the equivalent of a truckload of equipment up there with sound recorders, all sorts of sound equipment, all sorts of cameras, everything from security camera systems, through to they're called trail cameras, for example, which could be put outside in all weather and motion censored. We use thermal cameras, which read heat. We use infrared cameras and ultraviolet cameras. We use all sorts of different types of cameras to try to catch something, plus all sorts of different types of voice recorders, recording equipment. Then what we do is we have different machines that read environmental factors, such as humidity, electromagnetic fields. It continues. There's so much, actually, to be honest. And then what we do is we move on to what we call IPC, which is modified radios and devices that in theory, allow the spirit to interact with us. And, sometimes we can set up these devices and actually hear what the spirits, or what we believe the spirits, have to say. And one of them actually, really is basically it's what we call a portal, and it's a small amp with a couple of different. And I'm not big on the terminology. I actually had one of our friends build it for us. They use the pedals that you guys use for like guitars and things.
Sure. Yep.
What are they called? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
reverb pedals and things like that. So what they do is they build this little device, and then we run a program into that, and it cleans up a lot of the background noise, and we actually get a lot of voices coming through and that sort of thing. And we call it the GD box basically, but it's
like a condenser,
the equivalent of what we call it. Yeah, that sort of thing. I'm not big on the terminology, for the actual parts, because it is musician stuff. Like, as I said, the pedals and things they use for the guitars and things like that, and they put them in this, just in a little box, and we plug a program in through it through some sort of tablet, and it spits out some amazing, conversations we have with spirit. And for example, one of the experiments we do when we're in the asylum is I tend to ask questions. We try to ask questions that will verify that there's some sort of intelligent answers coming through. And we usually ask, if my wife's not there, I'll ask, can you tell me what my wife's name? And, 8 out of 10 times we'll get Amanda. Will come through. And because they tend to, the spirits that are there tend to learn know us, and we'll get this verification. The other 2 times, sometimes they don't want to talk to me, and, really, then in no terms they tell me to basically piss off because they don't want to speak to me. And someone else asks the same question and gets the answer. So it's actually quite funny.
So they almost have personalities in the way that a human being does, or an animal might.
Well, the spirit is. The spirit is the same when it passes. The spirit doesn't change all that much. If you're a decent person, you'll be a decent person when you pass over. If you're not a very nice person, you'll probably still be the same when you pass over. It's until the belief system in research and the feedback we're getting from recordings from the other side and things like that. Now, this sounds. I always hear myself saying this, and sometimes it does sound like speaking on a science fiction show or something, but this is what we receive. Through these boxes, we actually get answers to our questions. And, till they get to the other side, receive healing from the other side, then, they usually are staying the same, if they're stuck on Earth. So if you're a nice person, you'll get these people, speaking really nice to you. And if they're nasty when they're alive and they're passed over, they usually stay nasty. Their personality doesn't change.
God, so with all due respect, an arsehole in life will be an arsehole in death. Sorry, it's a bit like that, is it?
That was the words I was going to. That's the words I was going to use, but I try to temper my language. We usually say, if you're a son of a bitch, you'll be a son of a bitch. But that's the way it is. I mean, if that's the way we believe. So, yeah. Okay. And the majority of the nasty ones we come across, where people believe they're like demonic and such, are just really bad human beings. Spirits. They're just not nice people.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Dealt with
yeah, I mean, I look at how different. It is. My two children are from each other, yet they've come from the same biological or genealogical source, I should say, and they even look completely different. But it's a fascinating thing, past life karma and all of this sort of stuff that we could probably leave for another discussion. But yeah, I mean, it all has an influence on us, doesn't it?
You've got exactly, and there was for years and years and years I believed in inherited memories, and that. For example, I taught martial arts. I trained martial arts since I was young, since I was a 10-year-old. And, I remember looking at my son one day. He was very young, had no training, picked up one of my batons and was twirling it the same as I would have been twirling it, without knowing he was doing it, if you know what I mean. So inherited memories, and sort of recently they had this Assassin's Creed movie, where they used the inherited memories to go back, and I sat there and I went, wow, that'd be awesome to be able to do that and see what the past was. But this whole that's a whole nother discussion.
So what's been your most significant investigation, and what was the outcome?
Okay, private investigations. I always say we have seen things that if they had in the movie, you wouldn't believe the movie was true. We had probably the worst case was a lady who was being harassed, her and her children. She was beaten. She was sexually assaulted by a spirit, and it took us a good 8 months to actually clear that case up. And using people high up in the church as well had to come in and sort of basically lend a hand. So that was probably the nastiest one. Although I've had some very, very nasty cases, that was extremely bad.
How long ago was that?
So the outcome was, that was a long time ago. That was had to be 12 years ago. So it's been a long time. But the thing is, the outcome of that case was that those, eventually those entities or those spirits that were nasty were moved on, and there were still spirits there, but they were the nicer variety, if you like to know. My wife actually used to go visit this lady, and she would hear her name being called afterwards. This is afterwards, and she'd say, "I'll just go to the bathroom." She'll go to the bathroom, and as she's going to the bathroom, the light would switch on for her. So these were nice spirits, and they were happy that the darker entities were gone. So. So we have some very strange stories that we come across. But
so
interesting.
Mate, you definitely do not strike me as a bloke who has a thin skin. But have you ever experienced an episode where you've thought you might have been a bit over your head, i.e. have you had a frightening experience?
Mate, definitely. There's anyone in this field that is dealing with cases, is dealing with these sort of things. My team tend to deal with some very dark cases. It's probably worked out. We tend to get a lot of cases handed to us from other teams that don't do that. So I've had furniture. I've had furniture moving around. I was doing a house cleansing, clearing a house for this poor. It was actually a young lady. She lived with the father. The father was drunk, and so there's a lot of bad energy there, but she was being hurt, having we were sitting there, we witnessed her face slapped, her hair being pulled, things like that, and anyway, we did what we did, and I had a couple of new investigators there that said they were experienced. I was clearing the place. I had a bedside table actually start rocking and moving forward towards me, for example. Now, for me, I have to keep going. That's the way I've been trained. Push the fear back, keep going. These other guys freaked out. So what happened is I had to turn and actually pull them back, round them up basically and get them back on
stay on message, yeah.
And for me, you get back in the fight. You know what I mean? Because it really is a fight for us in some of these cases, and that was the point where I was scared because I knew these guys didn't have my back, and my team that I have, or the regular guys, I know they will have my back. A matter of fact, last Friday we were doing a investigation of a location. I had he works with my team. He's part of my team, but he's part of another team as well. He got attacked, and my son and I literally had to carry him out of the place and do a healing on him. And this guy is he's the most skeptical, no bullshit guy in the field. You got to show him things 10 times to make him a believer, basically. And he's there, and he got pushed up against the wall, and he's a big lad, he's a big bodybuilder. He said, I can't move my legs. I put my hand on him. I felt him get pushed back into the wall, and that's when I said we got to get him out. So we slung an arm over his shoulder. My son was 15, but he's about 2 inches taller than me. He was a big lad. And this gentleman was actually trained. Yeah, this gentleman actually trained him at the gym, so he's a strong lad too. So we carried him out, and he was like a ton of bricks. But we got him out. He started to come good. We just I had to do a bit of a healing, get him out, and so you can get hit. It doesn't matter how big, tough, and strong you are. You can get hit, and people need to realise that, and people need to say, yeah, okay, look, fear is all right. Fear is what keeps us alive in most things.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I've been scared, and in times, and it's just something we have to learn to control. As a matter of fact, I did a presentation on that at a paranormal convention last year or the year before about how to control fear, which I've taken off from the martial arts side of things.
Of course,
and
that'd help enormously.
Police officers and I used to train a lot of guys who worked in, as I said, police officers, the military, those sort of blokes. And, I would speak to them and say, well, how do you guys do it? How do you control this urge to run and hide, basically? So I taught them, they taught me, and, I've turned it into something I can use in this field. So, yeah. So it's, I believe you're always learning, never stop learning. And, when you think you've learned everything, you might as well give up because you're going to go stagnant.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
the way I believe.
And do you experience something akin to the thrill of the chase when you're setting up an investigation?
I think you do. I mean, look, it's for me. It's I've been doing this for 31 years. I was having a joke not that long ago that I was 19 was my first investigation. I'm 50 now. So it's every investigation, but is exciting. But I mean, I have a process that I have to go through to set up investigations. My team know the process. They know that we have to do certain things. But even then, you're setting up and not knowing really what's going to happen. So it is exciting in the sense that it's a surprise pretty much every time. And something that you think might not be much might turn into something big. Something that's supposed to be big will turn into something small. When you think you're not going to get anything, you might get the biggest surprise. We sort of liken it to gold prospecting. Sometimes you'll dig through a lot of crap to get that one little nugget, and other times you won't find anything. So it is. There is a thrill to it, and I think you have to love what you do. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah,
especially
God, that's
what
a
we
big
do.
one.
You have to love what you do. Yeah, you got to, we're out there, my guys are out there, sometimes in the historical locations, we're out there in rain and mud, in, 40-degree heat, in freezing cold. I mean, Friday night we were up in Ararat, it was 0 degrees. And, they do it for the love, mate. So, that's what we do. So, yeah, there you go.
So what about the mindset when you start an investigation? So, for example, Are you hopeful that you'll find irrefutable proof of paranormal activity, or are you more of the mindset that you'd prefer to debunk a theory that something from the paranormal is making its presence felt? Now, I make that last point because it is fear of the unknown that can give people nightmares. So are you hopeful that you can advise a client that as far as you're concerned, rest easy, there's no proof of the paranormal?
For sure. Look, the way I look at it, and any investigator that says they don't want to find something or don't want to have a good piece of evidence captured is probably not speaking 100% true. We all would like to catch that amazing full-bodied apparition photo. You know what I mean? Having said that, when we do an investigation, when we do think we catch something, we run through a whole series trying to reproduce it, trying to find what it could be to debunk it. So, that we can say, no, this is not a proper piece of evidence. And it's happened many times, So we need to eliminate all the possibilities before we say something is paranormal. Now, having said that, I would rather tell the client, I will always tell the client the truth. If there's nothing there, I will say there's nothing there. If we find something and it's not, it's not too bad, what I will advise the client, and then we'll work out a strategy to fix it. If it's something that's pretty nasty, the same thing. We will work out a strategy to try to, rectify the situation to help them out. So, the client, in my view, deserves the truth in all things. And although, if my guys know if something has presented that might be a bit nasty, they will actually talk to me away from the client first, and then we'll work out the strategy how to talk to the client about it. So, you are hopeful that something will happen in the sense that you will get some sort of evidence, but it's not something that we're 100%. That's the only reason we're there for, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. And something that we started talking about earlier, but certainly some of the people that I've had talk to me about having interactions with the paranormal, to be quite honest with you, I know for a fact they've been heavy drug takers, so heavy recreational drug users. Yep. So do you get approaches from people that you think, hang on a sec, there's either mental illness here or they're taking far too much recreational drug use, or using far too many recreational drugs?
For sure, and not sharing. No, only sharing. The thing is, sorry. The thing is,
good, I agree.
Yeah, we do definitely. Oh, mate, you know what I'm saying. No, the thing is that we do get that. I mean, look, there's heavy drinkers, there's heavy drug use, there's people that have psychological issues. A lot of people will discount them straight away. They will say, no, it's a mental illness or this and that, and they will usually dump them. We'll assess the situation first. The reason why we do that is because sometimes mental illness, substance abuse, alcohol abuse, whatever it might be, can attract negative energies, can attract these things. So even though those people are, high on things, and saying they're experiencing this and that, we'll have a chat to them. We'll check the place out, and then we'll make a decision whether we need to go further. So the way I look at it is I've seen so much in the time I've been around, and that I don't sort of cut people off. Very rarely I will cut someone off at the knees straight away. I will at least listen to what they have to say. So yeah, we do deal with people like that. And look, a lot of the time it is just what they're, experiencing through what they've got, whether it be a substance abuse or a mental illness. But, I think they deserve, as human beings, someone to listen to them. You know what I mean? It's, I'm a bit of a softie, but, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt as best I can.
You've got a high degree of empathy for people in their situation, I think,
I think you have to. I think you have to have a certain amount of empathy, simply because the way it is, there's people, as I said, there's people out there that will just, abandon them. Don't get me wrong, I'm no pushover. If I give people advice and say, this is what you need, and I will tell them straight out, this is what you need to do. There's no ifs, buts, or, what if I do this? There's no negotiation. This is what I need you to do. And if you do that, then we'll be with 100%. If people, just continuing down the same path, not listening to the advice and not trying to help themselves, then, it comes a point when we need to step away. As I said, this is all done at no cost. My guys are giving up their time, or any investigators are giving up their time, to help you out. At least follow the advice that we're giving. I've walked into houses and said to people, "Do you smoke, drugs?" Place stinks of marijuana. No, never touch them.
Right.
Mate, I didn't live in a closet all my life. You know what I mean? I was, like anyone else, you can walk into a place and you walk past someone and you can smell it, and you think, yeah, good for you. You know what I mean? But it's, be honest with me. Don't bullshit me. It doesn't mean I'm not going to cut you off. What it means is you be honest with me, and I'll know you're telling me the truth, and I'll give you 100% help as much as we can. So that's the way we work. Yep.
So what's your take on organised religion and the role that it has in creating superstitions and fear of the unknown? And you mentioned something important earlier, so I'd like you to talk in more detail about this point, if that's okay, that you'd worked with the clergy on a past case. I'm fascinated by that. Yep,
for sure. Well, we have, I've worked with clergy in different religions, to be honest. I have friends in, especially in the United States, that are clergymen and work in without sounding like an idiot, but in exorcisms and things like that. That's what these guys do. But I was raised a Roman Catholic. I still have my beliefs. I don't believe you need to go to church all the time to be a good person. So I'm not one of these blokes that are going to, bring my Bible to your house when we have dinner or something and start talking to you. But I believe that, there is good.
Yeah, you've got your faith. Example, in other words, I think you're a bit like me. I'm Catholic as well, exactly. And we've got our faith. Yeah,
for sure. The faith is what makes what we do strong. When we do a house clearing, I have to have faith that it's going to work. I have to have strength in what I believe. But it doesn't mean, there's too many people spending life on their knees praying that should be out helping people. That's my thoughts. Now, organised religion, I know, the Catholic Church is going through a hard time at the moment with, very bad claims and such. And sure that, that's terrible. Those people done the very worst thing you could do. But, you can't tar everyone with the same brush, if that makes sense.
Of course. So you're spot on. You're right.
Part,
yeah.
And, but it depends on who the client is with us. If we have, you're a Buddhist, you really don't want, or it's a spirit that's, from that sort of religion, you might not be affected as well by Roman Catholic sort of rituals. If you're a Greek Orthodox, a Taoist monk coming in might not be able to do the same thing. I believe there's a big correlation in what these people are and, what the spirits are. Excuse me. And, that's a really big question. And there's a lot into it. But I believe that, yes, the organised religion has caused a lot of damage in our world, 100%. But I don't believe that every person in that religion or every priest or Buddhist monk or, whatever is a bad person. If that, makes sense.
Spot on. No, it makes complete sense. Yeah.
It's like saying all policemen are bad. They're not. There might be a small amount that are bad, but you can't, because of them, you can't tar the whole force. There's good people in this world, whether they're religious people or whether they're not. There's good people. So I'm very open-minded with, I judge people on what they do, not what they are. So, that's the way I work. If you're a good person and, you treat me right, you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. I don't care whether you're, what religion you are, what color you are, what nationality you are. That doesn't come down to me. What you do and how you are is what comes down to me, like whether I trust you or not. So, yeah, there you go.
Good creed to live by, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, it is a good creed to live by. But, having said that, organised religion has caused a lot of trouble. You just got to look back at the Inquisition. I'm sure there was a lot of people there that weren't very happy.
Well, I think whenever religion becomes more about do as I say, and when it becomes more about following dogma rather than about faith, and that's when the trouble starts. And we see that in the world today, and we've seen it in history, all through history.
Oh, for sure. It comes down to a controlling thing. It comes down to a power thing. It's not, it needs to be a faith. A faith thing. You know what I mean? It comes down to money rather than faith. It comes down to control rather than faith. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And it is a horrible thing. And some people, unfortunately, follow what they're told, just like sheep. They don't question. And that's the way they were raised, I suppose.
Well, I think as soon as a religion basically becomes an ideology rather than a faith, then it's game over. You know what I mean? And because of the internet, we're so aware of what goes on in the world. Apparently, at this time in history, is the most peaceful 100%. Time ever. Apparently, but you wouldn't know it given the speed of. Well, apparently so. I mean, I don't know how they can test for that and actually provide some assurances that is the case. But, I mean, you sort of believe it in one part because we in the West, I mean, there's no nations at war with each other in the West, so that's about...
Exactly.
What's about a third of the world's population taken care of from that perspective that can basically, when I say taken care of, that they can go to work, raise a family and basically lead a peaceful life without having some sort of violence come to them, for sure, like you would get if you were living in, the unfortunate people live in Syria or Iraq or wherever it might be, so...
Exactly, in certain parts of Africa or something like that. I mean, it's horrible, you hear the stories and, it's just horrendous. You feel for these people that are holding their children. The children are starving, or the children are, the husband's gone missing because he said the wrong thing or whatever. It's just terrible. Yeah, definitely. But that's unfortunately the world.
It is indeed. Yeah, it's just the nature of humanity. We seem to repeat the same mistakes over and over again, don't we? When you look at history, we just don't seem to learn.
It does happen, unfortunately, and that's what we should be doing, learning from history, rather than trying to repeat it.
So I'm fascinated by some of the, I'm trying to find the right words, but apparitions are like, when I say fascinated, I'm intrigued, okay? So in the battlefields of Verdun, over in Gettysburg in the States, so Verdun in France, Gettysburg in the States, Verdun was a infamous, I should say, battlefield in World War I between the French and the Germans, and they do capture a lot of paranormal activity there. Do you tend to find that there is more of a presence of the paranormal where great suffering has occurred, or is it a bit more random than that?
Oh, look, it is prevalent in those places. I mean, I have investigated Gettysburg myself twice, and the things I've felt there, even during the day, it's it was amazing. You know what I mean? For example, I was with some friends of mine who were investigators, and we went to a place in Gettysburg, which is Pickett's Charge, which was the last basically charge of the Confederates before the war. But before that battle was ended, they got smashed through badly, and that was it for them basically. And I'm standing there in this middle of this field, and on this path, and I hear two men speaking behind me, and I turn around thinking, because they were right behind me, like right in my ear. I got turned around to get out their way because I was, filming a little bit, and turned around and no one there, and there was no one in the whole patio behind me. There was a couple of people in front of me, my friends. That's just during the day. I mean, then I heard battle drums during the night. I've heard bootsteps come walking through my room. Among other things, I mean, I got bitten by a child spirit in the orphanage in Gettysburg, and I have a picture with all the teeth marks, which was fantastic. I mean, among other things, I mean, we made contact with the only civilian that was killed in Gettysburg, Jenny Wade, and actually had her name come through on some of our recordings. There's so much, it would take me an hour or 2 hours to sit down and just tell you the basics, you know what I mean? So we've had so much experiences. So, but the feeling there is in Gettysburg itself is just full of activity, and that's the way I felt. So I can understand that other battlefields will be the same.
So what do the spirits want? Something? So much. Are they waiting for something to happen, or are they just not moved over to the next dimension yet?
It depends. You know, it really depends. In general, sometimes they know they're dead and they don't wish to move on. They're happy where they are. Sometimes I believe they're afraid to move on. Maybe they've been nasty in life or a bit, not too nice in life, and they may be afraid of judgment.
Afraid of judgment. That'd be a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a religious person but weren't a nice person, you're thinking, I'm crossing over, I'm going to get judged, I'm going to hell. You know what I mean? That could be a thought pattern, and especially in the older religions, they were all fire and brimstone. And so really, that's one or two examples. So it could be that they're attached to a place. They might be waiting for someone. They might not know they're dead. It really depends on there's so much. Then you deal with that's what we call an intelligent haunting. Then you start to deal with residual hauntings, which are more memories rather than natural spirits.
Echoes. I've heard of this.
So, echoes of the past. Yeah. So, for example, in a lot of castles, you'll hear about scenes that repeat. For example, in England, there's a lot of scenes to repeat. Like a lady walks on the 3rd of July, a lady walks from there to there and looks out that window, like and cries. That could have been a traumatic event that was somehow recorded in the atmosphere, and on the right occasion or right date or right environmental factors, it plays back.
So it's like electromagnetic energy. Human. So electromagnetic energy captures the event and then keeps on replaying it. Is that a good explanation?
Sure. It's trapped. Yeah, it's trapped in the environment. There's so many theories. For example, there's a stone tape theory, which is where the energy or the emotion is trapped in and absorbed by, say, granite. Granite has quite a bit of, it's got a lot of iron in it. It's got a lot of, different compounds, and and it traps this energy. And so then, like an old videotape, videotape was coated with iron oxide, and which is rust basically, and that's in these stones. And so it's like that's recorded that, and then it plays back. When the play button is, the play button being the environment or the environmental factors, or the date or something like that, and it plays back, this emotional event, and that's one theory. Sandstone has another theory, and there's limestone's another theory. There's different ways that they say it works, so a lot of these castles are built on stone that is infused with metal, with some iron, with whatever, so there's a big theory that it catches the essence of these emotional events and then releases them at certain times. So and the catalyst for that being that there is emotion rather than just that's why everyday events aren't being captured. It's more the really emotional events. Yeah, so that's what they say. This is about. So that's a theory. Everything we do is on theory. So
for sure.
Until we have something 100% proof, even the equipment we use, how it works, is really theory rather than fact. You can say how a camera works, but how does a camera capture a spirit? That's theory rather than fact. So we try to capture these. We try to work these things out as we go along and try to put a little bit more pieces on the puzzle. So
I'll share with you. I've got to share with you my experience with the paranormal, and I suppose there's the best way to call it the paranormal. I went in 1995. I should backtrack a little bit. My father, when he was growing up, had a difficult relationship with his family, so he decided to move out to a boarding house when he was in his early 20s, and he boarded with a lady called Nana Brooks. Now, we went to her funeral and her wake in 1995, and when we got out of our car to walk to what was her previous place, so currently it was her house, she bloody well walked past us. And it's got to be my witness that happened. And we smiled at her, we said hello, and she said hello back. But only my brother and I remember it. The rest of the family don't actually remember it. But I remember my mother and father and my sister actually saying hello to her as well. We couldn't believe that she walked past us,
I can understand it.
What, in your experience, would she just be final goodbye to everybody? Is that what that would have been? A bit of a lap of honour just to see who's going to the wake? Is that what happens when you pass over?
Hey, quite possibly. Could be, it could be that, or it could again be a replay that she's, when she used to go out down the street, she would say, hello to people as she walked past. It could be any of them. It's a matter of, how you feel about it too. Whether you feel she was, did she turn and make eye contact with you?
Oh, she was very happy. I could tell. You could feel how happy she was. Yeah.
For sure. Was she ill before she passed?
Oh, she was elderly. She was about 85 or 86, so it was just old age.
Okay, so she was probably struggling to get around, and in spirit she's free. In spirit she can move, so it's no wonder she's happy. There's no rickety bones, there's no pain. She's in, she's bliss. Compared to what she probably was feeling before. But as a matter of fact, I had a very similar experience. An uncle of a brother-in-law. I used to work in a place called Heidelberg, and I used to see him. He was fit man, older man, was fit, always walking. And I used to shoot down the street for lunch, and I'd see him walking and say, "G'day, how are you?" And shake, wave at each other, and pass each other, just say, "G'day." Well, he passed away, and I went to walk up the street, and he come the other way. Said the same thing.
Same situation.
I would always say, how you doing? And without I was in my own little world, and I said, "G'day," and kept walking. Then I stopped. And I had to turn and actually have a look at him, he wasn't there. So it's just one
wow,
one of those things that it's really hard to explain, but they do have their final goodbyes, mate. And
must be what it is. That's what I thought it would have been with Nana Brooks. Yeah, I think she's just walking past, just as the tip of the hat. Thank you, because she was a very kindly woman. And she was just, meandering through, doing what she did, and she just happened to bump into us, and it was fascinating. It's been my only significant contact. Yeah. So,
I think that's a really good memory. It's a great memory for you. As well.
Lovely. Yeah.
It's not threatening. It's a nice feeling. And she was obviously a lovely person. So that's really nice.
So, mate, you're easily the best person that I could ask this question of. And I'm sure everybody listening at one point in time has asked themselves this question, and I know people ask themselves this question all the time, but, mate, what really happens when we die, when we first pass over and leave our body?
I would love to give you 100% verifiable answer. I don't really,
What's your theory?
None of us really know. That's honest. That's the honest answer, But, I'd love to say to you, hey, this is what happens. And, that's what we're working on. We're working on trying to make... because apart from trying to capture evidence that spirit exists after we pass, ghosts exist, whatever. We work in all other fields too. So we have like UFO work, we have cryptozoology work, but what I do is more spirit, the hauntings and such. So what I believe, and this is not based on religion, this is just based on the things that I've seen in this field, is that once a spirit leaves the body, the spirit either, if it goes to where it's supposed to be, from the research we have, the spirit leaves the body, goes to another place where, whether you want to call it heaven, nirvana, whatever you want to call it. And the research has told us, researchers all over the world getting the same answers, is that, when you get over there, for example, if you're elderly, or you have maybe lost both your legs, or some sort of physical injury, you can't just automatically become perfect again. In most cases, you need to have a little bit of time where you recuperate, and they have similar to what you would call as a hospital. They help people to go back to a point when they were happy, to get used to that again, if you know what I mean, and then then go from there. That's the research that people have found. Now, when people leave their body and they get stuck, again, that's this conversation we've just been happening. But I believe that the spirit leaves the body, and and I believe that the body is just a vessel for our true nature, our true what we are. When we leave the body, we are the same people. It's just that we leave that. It's like a car. You open the door and you step out. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. Well, nobody's ever come back to tell us what happens, have they? So we've got to theorise. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, again, we fear the unknown, so we try to work out what's going on, so we can we can get some sort of answer. But it's all, mate. There's so much out there that we need to work on, and it comes down to being patient persistent, and hopefully that veil gets a little bit thinner, and we can give some people some really good answers. So, yeah.
Mate, this has been awesome. This has been unbelievable, actually. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to talk to you about what's going on in their lives?
For sure. If they jump on Facebook, they can go and find us at the Australian Paranormal Society. They can send us a message there if they like. We have all our contact details on there, my phone number, my email address. We can get you in contact with any of the group that have different abilities, as in psychic abilities, or we can help you out, in answering a question, or if you have an investigation you're doing, whether you're in close by to us or worldwide. We have a worldwide network of investigators that we work with. We'll find one way to help you out. But the Australian Paranormal Society, search us on Facebook, and we'll and drop us a line. And anyone that's interested, if they're local to where we are, we're in Victoria in Australia. We run workshops, we run tours. I also set up tours for people that are coming down and want to just do a bunch of different investigations or see haunted places. So just let us know what you want, and we'll help you out. So we're very, very easygoing people. So
that's awesome.
That's it. Yep. Definitely.
Well, thank you so much, mate. This has been great. Yeah.
Oh, it's been fantastic, mate. And I love speaking to people that are interested. And sometimes sometimes you get a really you get the answer you want. Sometimes it's something different. But as long as people walk away thinking, that's what I always say. That we can. That's how we're going to move forward when people are all thinking. But Andrew, thank you so much for having me, mate. I had a blast.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Look, I'll be forward here and I'll say that the thing that I've got a lot of comfort from, you've got a very level head on your shoulders. So I know that if ever anything was going on in my life and to my family and I reached out to you, I think I'll get a very serious but at the same time level-headed person that would be able to do a proper investigation and tell me what was going on. So you seem like you're perfect for the job that you're doing.
Thank you, Andrew. I mean, look, we work on the premise that, we try to be as professional as we can. We don't jump at shadows. I believe, look, I don't need to prove that spirits exist. I know they exist. But we need to prove and to help people to get to a point where either they believe or don't believe. And, either way it's fine. That's why I see it, And I figure once we all pass, we'll know the absolute truth. So we're just trying to make it easier for people when they do pass, so they have a little bit more of an idea. So that's it. That's us. Yeah.
Cool, mate. All right, I'll let you know when I post. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with a member of the Australian Paranormal Society, Mr. Bill Tabone. I really appreciate you listening.